So what happens when the master manipulator finally loses control? When that carefully constructed world of a narcissist comes crashing down? This isn't just them having a bad day, it's a complete shattering of their reality, an event known as a narcissistic collapse. A collapse is triggered when someone with narcissistic personality disorder can no longer keep up their grandiose, confident image because of a major blow to their ego. We're going to break down the dramatic implosion they experience when their worst fears become real, and why understanding this is so crucial for your own healing. This is the moment the mask doesn't just slip, it shatters. Number 1, the foundation, the house of cards. To really get what a collapse is, you first have to understand what a narcissist's personality is built on. Picture a magnificent house of cards. From the outside, it looks impressive, complex, and perfectly balanced. This is the narcissist's false self. It's the idealized version of who they want to be: powerful, special, and absolutely flawless. But this entire structure is held up by one thing: narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is really just any form of attention, admiration, or validation they can get from other people. It's their emotional fuel. They need this constant external validation because underneath that grandiose facade, their self-esteem is incredibly fragile. They are often so deeply insecure that they feel empty inside, and they need praise from others just to feel real. The false self is a defense mechanism built to protect them from a deep-seated terror of being worthless. But just like any house of cards, this identity is fundamentally unstable. It relies completely on outside forces, your attention, your praise, your fear, to keep from toppling over. When that supply gets cut off, the whole structure starts to get dangerously wobbly. Number 2, the trigger, the first crack. So what causes this meticulously built house of cards to start shaking? A narcissistic collapse is triggered by a major blow to their ego, an event so profound it threatens their entire sense of being special. This isn't just a minor critique. It's a direct, undeniable challenge to their false self. Common triggers include public humiliation. This is probably the big one. A narcissist's greatest fear is being exposed as a fraud or a failure in front of others. Think of a high-flying CEO caught in a huge scandal or being very publicly fired. A major loss of status or supply. This could be a devastating career failure, a divorce they didn't want, or being abandoned by their partner, their primary source of admiration. When the person who gives them the most consistent supply leaves, it creates a massive void they don't know how to fill. Being confronted with cold, hard proof of their lies, manipulations, or bad behavior can also trigger a collapse. When their gaslighting and denials stop working, reality becomes impossible to escape. These events aren't just setbacks. To the narcissist, they feel like threats to their very existence. Their defenses start to crumble, and for the first time, they're forced to face the inadequacy they've spent their whole lives running from. The first card begins to slide, and the collapse is right around the corner. Number 3, the collapse, the shattering. When the collapse finally hits, it's an intense and volatile emotional crisis. The confident, controlled persona completely dissolves, revealing the raw chaos underneath. This phase is defined by extreme emotional instability and a total loss of control. During the collapse, you'll often see a storm of powerful, conflicting emotions. They might experience overwhelming shame and humiliation. For a narcissist who is totally unequipped to handle vulnerability or failure, these feelings are unbearable. That shame is almost immediately followed by explosive rage. Narcissistic rage is a defense mechanism. It's designed to deflect their own internal pain and project it onto somebody else. It's way easier for them to feel anger than to feel the crushing weight of their own worthlessness. And this isn't just normal anger. It's often wildly disproportionate, cruel, and aimed at anyone they can blame for their downfall. Alongside the rage, a deep despair and depression can kick in. As their self-image crumbles, they can sink into a state of hopelessness, feeling like a complete failure. This can also show up as intense anxiety and panic. The loss of control and the fear of being exposed further can lead to panic attacks and a state of hypervigilance, where they see threats and criticism absolutely everywhere. These emotions don't happen in neat, tidy phases. They often erupt in chaotic and rapid mood swings. The narcissist can swing violently between rage, deep sadness, and crippling anxiety, which makes them completely unpredictable and honestly frightening to be around. If you've seen this happen firsthand, please know that your experience is valid. If you feel comfortable, share in the comments. Your story might just help someone else feel a little less alone. Number 4, the aftermath, the desperate scramble. After the initial explosion, the narcissist enters a period of desperate scrambling. Their one and only goal is to regain control and rebuild their shattered ego. Their behavior during this time can be erratic and usually takes one of two forms: lashing out viciously or withdrawing completely. Here are some of the desperate behaviors you might see. Extreme isolation. Some narcissists will just run and hide. They retreat from everyone to avoid any situation where they might be seen in their weakened state. This isn't a quiet time for reflection. It's driven by pure fear. They're terrified of being seen as the scared rat they feel they've become. This withdrawal is often paired with the silent treatment, or ghosting, used as a passive-aggressive weapon to punish people they feel have wronged them. A vicious smear campaign. If they don't withdraw, they often go on the attack. The narcissist will launch a ruthless smear campaign to discredit anyone who saw their collapse or played a part in their downfall. They'll paint themselves as the victim and you as the villain, spreading lies and half-truths to ruin your reputation. Blame shifting becomes their full-time job. In their mind, nothing is ever their fault. Someone else has to be responsible for their pain, and that person must be punished. Self-destructive behaviors. In a desperate attempt to numb the pain and shame, many narcissists turn to self-destructive habits. This can include substance abuse, reckless spending or gambling, or other impulsive behaviors that offer a temporary escape from the unbearable reality of their own perceived failure. Hoovering and fake remorse. In a last-ditch effort to get their narcissistic supply back, they may try to hoover old sources back into their orbit. This can look like sudden apologies, over-the-top gifts, or grand declarations of love, but it's rarely genuine. They might even try to restart a relationship by pretending the exposure never happened, all in an effort to get their supply line running again. They haven't changed, they're just trying to rebuild their house of cards as fast as they can. Number 5, the psychological impact and defense mechanisms. Internally, the narcissist is going through a massive identity crisis. The collapse forces them to face the one thing they've been running from their whole lives: the truth of who they are without the mask. As their reality shatters, they may resort to delusional stories to cope, completely rewriting history to create a narrative where they are the perpetual victim of an unfair world. Genuine self-reflection is practically off the table. While a fleeting moment of self-awareness might be possible in very rare cases, they are generally wired to avoid it at all costs. This lack of insight is a core feature of NPD and is what causes them to act out in such destructive ways. They might engage in merciless self-criticism in private, but that self-loathing is quickly projected outward as blame and rage toward others. In the most extreme cases, the depth of their despair and self-hatred can lead to thoughts of self-harm, as they may see it as the only way out of the humiliation. Understanding this internal turmoil is key. Their lashing out, their lies, and their victim act are all driven by a terror of inadequacy. It's a desperate, frantic effort to protect a fragile ego that has been completely shattered. Watching a narcissist collapse can be a chaotic, painful, and even scary experience. But understanding what's really going on beneath the surface is a powerful tool for your own healing and validation. The rage, the blame, and the manipulation they aim at you during a collapse were never really about you. They are the desperate reactions of a person whose entire sense of self has crumbled. Their behavior is a reflection of their own internal chaos, not a measure of your worth. Seeing the collapse for what it is, the predictable outcome of a personality built on a fragile foundation, can free you from the guilt and self-doubt they worked so hard to create. It's the final, undeniable proof that the world they built was an illusion and you were never the problem. If this video resonated with you, please consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message. Sharing your experience can be a powerful act of healing for you and for others. Remember, understanding is the first step toward reclaiming your own reality.